right, let's just jump right in. If you've ever felt like the IELTS reading test is this, I don't know, this impossibly frustrating puzzle, then you are in the right place. We're about to completely flip how you look at this test. I want you to stop thinking of it as a test of your English. From this moment on, you're going to see it for what it really is, a strategic game. And today, I'm handing you the playbook to win. This right here, this quote gets to the absolute heart of it. It's a total game changer. Look, the reason so many people get stuck isn't because their English is bad. Not at all. It's because of the approach. You spent your whole life being taught to read like a student, right? You read carefully, you try to understand everything, but IELTS, well, it just doesn't reward that. It rewards a totally different way of thinking, and that's the code we're going to crack today. Okay, so first up, let's talk about this feeling of working hard, but getting it all wrong. We're going to look at the common traps people fall into. This is for all of you out there who know your English is solid, but for some reason, you just can't break past that band 6 or 7 in reading. I get it. The frustration is so real. But the solution isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. So take a second. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Be honest with yourself, because figuring out the problem is always the first step. Yeah, if you just nodded your head, trust me, you are not alone. These habits feel like the right thing to do, don't they? I mean, read the passage carefully. That's what we've always been told. But in the crazy pressured time crunch of IELTS, these are absolute traps. Reading the whole passage first, you're just wasting minutes on stuff you might not even need. Trying to understand every single word, it's impossible, and it's a complete waste of brain power. And all of this leads to that awful feeling. You know the one. You finally get to the questions, your mind is a total blank, and you can just feel the clock taking you closer and closer to a full-on panic on that last passage. But here's the good news. This is where we get to the aha moment. This is the big paradigm shift, the thing that separates the people who struggle from the people who walk away with a band 8 or 9. And spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with learning more vocabulary. It's all about learning to think in a completely new way. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. The IELTS reading test could not care less about how big your vocabulary is, or how great your memory is, or how smart you are. It's a pure skills test. It is only measuring 3 things. Number 1, how fast can you find information? 2, how accurately can you match what it means? And 3, how good are you at spotting and avoiding all the little traps they lay for you? As soon as you truly get that, I mean really get it, everything changes. All right, so if it's a skills test, what's the master skill you need? Well, it's this. We call it the question-first approach. This is hands down the most powerful strategy you can possibly learn. It is the foundation, the master key for almost every single question type they can throw at you. I want you to burn this into your brain. The wrong way is passage, understanding, answer. That's the student way. The test taker's way, the right way, is question, keyword, location, answer. You have to let the questions be your guide. This turns you from a passive reader, just kind of wandering through a forest of words, into an active hunter with a very specific target. So let's break that down into a simple 4-step method you can use every single time. Step 1, always read the question first. Don't even look at the passage. Step 2, identify the keywords. The names, the dates, the important nouns. And, this is so crucial, think of synonyms for them, because IELTS almost never uses the exact same word. Step 3, scan the text for the location of the answer. We call this the where before what principle. Find the right sentence before you even try to figure out the answer. And finally, step 4, now you read that small piece of text carefully and you match the meaning, not just the words, to get your answer. Simple. Okay, so we've got our universal strategy down. Now let's put it to work. Let's see how we can use it to conquer some of those question types that cause the most stress and lose people the most points. And of course, we have to start with the one everyone dreads, right? True, false, not given. It feels so tricky and subjective, but I promise you, it's actually super logical once you see the framework. So here's the deal. The difference between false and not given is everything. True is easy, right? The meaning matches exactly. But for it to be false, the passage has to clearly state the opposite. If the question says, the car was red, the passage has to say something like, the car was blue. It directly contradicts it. But not given just means, well, the information isn't there at all. The passage might talk about the car's speed or its owner, but it never mentions the color. The golden rule here is you have to base your answer only on what's in the text, not on what you might know from the outside world. Okay, next up, matching headings. The number one trap here, the one everyone falls for, is picking a heading that matches one little detail or an interesting sentence in the paragraph. But that's not what they're asking. They're testing if you can find the single main idea of the entire paragraph. So here's a really powerful technique to try. It sounds a little backward, but trust me, it works. First, completely ignore the list of headings I give you. Just read the first paragraph. Then, in your own words, just a few simple words, write your own little heading. Ask yourself, what's the main point here? Then, and only then, you go look at the official options. You will be shocked at how often one of them is basically a synonym for what you just wrote down. This is brilliant because it forces you to figure out the main idea before you get tricked by all those other tempting but wrong answers. Look, knowing the strategy is half the battle, but turning that knowledge into a high score, that all comes down to how you practice. So let's talk about what makes for good practice versus just being busy. Just look at the difference here. Bad practice is just mindlessly doing test after test, checking your score, feeling frustrated, and then doing the exact same thing tomorrow, making the same mistakes. Good practice is all about quality over quantity. Take just one passage, and for every single question you got wrong, you have to become a detective. You have to ask, why? Why did I pick that answer? Was it a word I didn't know? Did I fall for a synonym trap? Did I just misunderstand the question? That is how you actually learn and stop making the same mistakes over and over. And can we talk about speed for a second? So many people rush to practice under timed conditions from day one. That is a huge mistake. This quote says it all. Accuracy with strategy creates confidence. Speed without accuracy creates panic. Speed is the result of being accurate and confident. So when you're first learning these strategies, forget the clock. Just focus on getting the answers right. As the methods become automatic, like second nature, your speed will go up all by itself, and you won't have that feeling of panic. So let's just wrap this all up. The biggest takeaway here, the main thing I want you to remember is that your goal has shifted. You are not trying to become a better, more literary English reader. You are training to become a smarter, more strategic test taker. This is a game of logic, of spotting patterns and staying in control. Because in the end, the clock on the wall isn't your real enemy. Panic is. The panic that comes from using the wrong approach, from getting lost in the details, from feeling completely overwhelmed. But when you have the right mindset and the right strategy, you're the one in control. You stop fighting the test and you start playing the game. So the only question left is, are you ready to play?